Hi everyone on YouTube. Just before I upload this, or just before you watch this video, should I say, sorry about the camera angle. There's loads of things in the way, and yeah, I'll learn for the next one. But yeah, I tried a different camera and a different angle for the podcast. I don't record every one. Look at that fancy little hoodie in the back. Yeah, it's not the best angle, but yeah, I'll improve it for the next one. But yeah, hope you enjoy the video, and here it is, Intermittent Fasting, episode 47. Hello and welcome to episode 47 of the Simply Fitness and Nutrition podcast. And today we're going to talk about intermittent fasting, tell you a little bit about what it is and whether it could help you with your fat loss. So I'm going to talk about it all in a fat loss perspective, forgetting about like muscle building or anything else, any other goal, just specifically fat loss. And I think I'm going to start with, I think I have discussed this topic before, but I can't remember whether I did an episode just on it, and it was requested by somebody. So yeah, so I thought I'd cover it in a full episode. Not sure how long it's going to be, but I'll tell you a little bit about what intermittent fasting is, what a few of the different protocols, because there is different ones, many different ones now, and give you a few points to think about, some things to consider, and yeah, then you can kind of make your own decision as to whether it's for you and whether it's going to help you. So let's start with basically intermittent fasting and what is it. So in simple terms, in really, really simple terms, it's you have a certain amount of time where you don't eat, which is the fasting part, as you'd guess, and you then have a window where you can eat. And normally, I've said this before, it's basically skipping breakfast, because there's going to come a point at night where you stop eating. Most people do, unless like you're a shift worker, then obviously that's a different ball game. But there's going to come a time where you stop eating at night, you go to bed, you sleep for hopefully 7 or 8 hours. If you're lucky, if you've got little children, you probably won't. And then there's a point where you get up, and then hopefully, if not, you'll die. Then you start eating, and then that's where you kind of break your fast. So that period where you're asleep is obviously your fasting window. Now, there's different protocols to the timings around this, and there's also different things such as like alternate day fasting, which I'm going to talk about as well. But yeah, the real simple one, I think the one that was made most popular was the 16 to 8, and that means basically 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours eating window. So what you would basically do is within them 8 hours, you would fit in all the calories that you're going to have during that day, whether that's from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the afternoon. I really made the maths simple for myself here. But yeah, so if you was to stop eating at 8 o'clock at night, obviously there's maybe a few hours before you go to bed. Go to bed when you get up in the morning. Let's say you start work at, I don't know, 9 o'clock, so you're up around 7:30. You are then not supposed to eat until 12 p.m. when you then break your fast, and then you've got from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. to fit in your amount of meals that you have. Now, that's one protocol. What I'm going to do, I'll take you through each of the protocols, and then we'll break it down a little bit further. So that's the 16 to 8 method. Another one is alternate day fasting. So basically how this works is you would essentially eat a day in like around maintenance calories, and then you'd have a day where you'd eat like a larger deficit day. So let's say, for example, again, to make the maths really simple for me, let's say your maintenance is 2,000 calories. So what you would do is eat a day where you eat 2,000 calories, a day where you eat 1,000 calories, a day where you eat 2,000 calories, a day where you eat 1,000 calories. and so on. And then over the week and over the weeks and months, that is obviously then going to lead to a calorie deficit. So that's another method, and that's alternate day fasting. Then we also have another one which is called Eat Stop Eat, and that's basically where we have 1 or 2 days where you eat nothing at all. So you have full day fasts, no calories, just 0 calorie. Like obviously you'll drink water, very important. Drink water. You can drink like black coffee, really low calorie things, so not technically full days without any calories, but as low as possible. And then during the other days you can kind of eat what you want in a sense. However, what this does is can potentially lead to sort of binges. So I think it's probably important at this point to mention that if you do suffer with any sort of like eating disorder, or any like a binge eating disorder, or any other eating disorder for that matter, then these protocols are probably not the best thing to try. So we've got 16 to 8, we've got alternate day fasting, we've got Eat Stop Eat. There's many others in there, but they were the main 3 I wanted to talk about because they're probably 3 of the most popular that you'll hear. And at this point, let me say, creating a calorie deficit is what allows you to lose body fat. Okay? So creating that calorie deficit is how you're going to lose body fat. Whether you do that with intermittent fasting is completely up to you. So what I'm trying to say is intermittent fasting isn't the driver of fat loss. The calorie deficit is the driver of fat loss. If doing intermittent fasting allows you to sustain a calorie deficit, then maybe it's good for you. Me personally, I couldn't go 1 or 2 days without eating, so Eat Stop Eat is out of it for me. Alternate day fasting, I don't want a maintenance level and then a really low deficit, just doesn't suit me. And to be fair, 16 to 8 method, I enjoy eating breakfast. So for me personally, when I want to lose body fat, intermittent fasting isn't something that I would do myself. I would go more towards just pretty much calorie counting and working out a deficit and trying to, or sticking to that, and being very not strict, but being very accurate, I suppose, with the calorie tracking. So it's really, really important to understand that it isn't special intermittent fasting. It isn't this magic bullet that will allow you to shed loads of fat and then maintain it. Maybe it is for you because it's helped you sustain that calorie deficit, but it's important to know that the intermittent fasting hasn't done that in a way. You've managed to find a method to sustain a calorie deficit. And that's where you've got to be really careful, because we know, I've spoke about this many times, marketing companies will jump on the back of things like this and try and sell you, whether it's diet plans or programs to follow, and say that their method is the best method and the method that's going to get the best results and help you to maintain it. That might be true for you, but as long as you understand what's really going on and that it's the calorie deficit that matters, then you kind of bulletproof yourself in a way to these marketing companies, because you're more knowledgeable than they probably think you are. So you understand what's really going on, and if the method helps you, you know that you've just found a dieting protocol that works for you, and it's not the magic of an intermittent fast. So in simple terms, it's kind of skipping breakfast or skipping days of eating. So what are you doing over them days? Let's take the 16 to 8 method as an example and run with that one. As you can see, it's not planned. It's off the top of the head, this one. I say, as you can see as well, because I'm recording this one, so I'll probably upload it to YouTube if it comes out all right. But yeah, so the 16 to 8 method. So as I say, 16 hours you're not eating. You've got an 8-hour eating window. In that window, you're probably going to eat, you've probably skipped breakfast, and you're probably going to eat lunch or dinner and tea or dinner, depending where you're from. So 2 meals, potentially. Again, the amount of meals is completely up to you, but the thought behind it is, if we've only got a window of 8 hours to eat our calories, the chances are that it's going to be difficult or more challenging to eat over our calorie goal in a shorter period of time than it is if we just have, I don't know, a 16-hour window open where we can eat whatever we want whenever we want. So that is the thinking behind it, and yeah, the sort of theory behind it, if you like. The shorter window could potentially lead to eating less calories. Now, it might not happen like that, and that's why intermittent fasting, one, isn't for everyone, and two, could potentially go wrong or lead to worse eating habits, because you could get that 8-hour window and think, oh yeah, I'm just going to eat what I want and just keep eating it. Even if you're full, you could keep, oh, I've only got an 8 hours, so I need to get everything in here because I don't want to be hungry. So it could potentially lead to overeating, but it could, for some, make it more challenging, and that's why it does work for some people. So yeah, so that's kind of the theory behind it. The theory is less time to eat equals potentially less calories to consume, and that's pretty much intermittent fasting, and that's the same with every other protocol. It's just a way of managing calories to potentially get to that calorie deficit at the end of the week, at the end of 2 weeks, at the end of 4 weeks, etc., until you get the results that you want. Now, what I would say is, I talk a lot about like sustainability. So what happens when, let's say, 16 to 8 has worked for you, you've lost the body fat that you want to lose, you are exactly where you want to be. What happens then? Do you see yourself being able to do 16-8 forever? Because if that's the case, then fine, crack on. If you don't, then what happens when we reopen like a bigger window, quote unquote, normal eating patterns? Do your calories then jump straight back up and you kind of get back into a calorie surplus and start gaining weight? Or have you sort of learned from doing intermittent fasting and then built some good eating habits around it? Because I think that's where intermittent fasting could help. I think if you have got it in your mind that in them 8 hours you're following some good eating patterns, getting loads of fruit and vegetables in there, getting some really good sources of protein, and keeping your protein levels high. Even, I'll talk about exercise soon, but even just getting into a routine with exercising around it as well. So you're just following some really good, simple but healthy habits around it, then I think that's really good. But if you are using that 8 hours to go, right, let's just get food in, I've only got 8 hours to eat, let's get the food in, then when you go back to a potential normal eating pattern out of intermittent fasting, that could potentially lead to weight gain, because you've not really learned how to sustain a diet, if you like, that fits your lifestyle and the way you want to eat for the rest of your life. Because that's kind of how we want our diet to be. We want it to be as, obviously, as sustainable, But as, what's the word? Sustainable and also easy to follow. I suppose that falls into sustainable, but we don't want to make things difficult for ourselves, and we want diets to be just simple and fit in with our lifestyle. And that's where I think it could potentially cause some problems. So, yeah, be aware of that. And then, yeah, finally, I wanted to kind of end on exercise because I've not spoke at all about exercise around this. So, I think with exercise, it depends when you train. Now, if you train early mornings, and again, let's take that 16 to 8 as the example here. You're not going to be eating in the morning because you're still in your fasting window. Now, a big thing to consider is how does that then affect your training? Because for me personally, if I was to, and I've done this actually recently, let me go through that. I always trained early morning, and most times I didn't eat. Yeah, no, I didn't eat. I just had like a coffee or whatever, some sort of caffeine. And then I trained. And I always thought that I trained best at that time because I felt just more mentally alert and ready for the session. And it's not until over the last almost year and a half now that I've switched to that doesn't make sense, does it? I've switched my training to be either mid-afternoon where I get like a dinner hour, or after work time around like after 4. And I've noticed that yes, sometimes I might feel a little bit more tired, so the mental clarity maybe isn't as sharp as early morning sessions, but I feel so much like stronger for one. Um, Things just move easier. My body feels warmer, and I've realised that I train better. I definitely train better and harder mid-afternoon or even after work times than I did early mornings. So what could that be? Could that be potentially what I said? I'm a little bit warmer. I'm into the day now. Or could that be because I've got food in the system, fueled up, feel ready to go? That could be one of the major factors. So if you're doing 16 to 8 and you train early mornings, you're going to be training on an empty stomach on the food that you had at 8 p.m. last night. If we go off before 8 p.m. because that's when your window would shut. If we go off the example I used before. So yeah, so it's really important to understand like what suits you best. And if you do train early mornings, my personal advice to you would be don't intermittent fast. Find a different dieting protocol that fits better with you, that allows you to train better and harder and get the most out of your workouts. And yeah, figure another way to control them calories if your goal is fat loss, because exercise is important and you want to get the most out of your session when you're in there. So I think, yeah, if you do train early mornings, consider it. I think if you train afternoons or evenings, then I don't think it matters too much in terms of you'll already be fueled then because you'll have broken your fast, if you like, or you'd have had your first meal. I hate saying broken your fast. It's ridiculous. Everybody breaks the fast, don't they? Everybody. That's the thing that, let's go on a little rant. The thing that annoys me a little bit with intermittent fasting is it's sold as this magic thing for people, whereas with most people, it's just they don't eat breakfast. That's pretty much all it is. They say, oh, well, my fasting window is from 10 p.m. till 7 a.m. Yeah, so is mine because I'm a fucking sleep. Like, that's not intermittent fasting. Well, technically it is. You're just not eating while you're asleep. Well done. Most people don't eat while they're asleep. So that's the bit that annoys me. It's not magic. It's not special. It's a way to control calories. If it works for you, brilliant. Go for it. And if you can see yourself being able to sustain that long term, go for it. If not, figure out another way. There's plenty of different protocols, but the main thing to remember is calorie deficit is what helps you to lose body fat, not intermittent fasting. But it can be useful. So I think that's it. Finish on a little rant there, but yeah, thanks for listening. Episode 47, getting closer to that 50. If you're still listening at this point, well done, because I know I've got a boring voice, but you're still here, so I appreciate it. Give me a like, give me a rating on, if you're watching on YouTube, give me a like, subscribe. I don't upload there much, but I'm trying my hardest to get more things on there. If you're interested in coaching, drop me an email, mark@coachclegg.com, or send me an email at Coach Clegg. Send me a message on Instagram at Coach Clegg. And yeah, have a great day. Have a great weekend if you listen to this on Saturday. And yeah, I'll speak to you soon in the next one. Thanks for watching.